question for the Blueprint project at the end of its 3 years. And the question posed in the final conference is, are we on our own?
When you meet with someone, within 30 seconds you've asked for his name and you've introduced yourself, and normally within 1 minute you've asked him or her what they do with their lives professionally. And what field, what are you into? I mean, you go to any dinner party, you go to any drinks party, within 2 minutes you've asked the person in front of you what they do with their lives. Which means that in fact you ask them what they are qualified in. Qualification, humanly, socially, the name of people is important, people's name is important, and people's qualification is like a second name. It's incredible. Oh, you are, yes, I do with medicine. Oh, you're a doctor. No, I'm actually, I just train like this, and I'm all right, so you're illegal. You immediately want to hear the name doctor, welder. All right, so you've been trained as a welder. So it is, socially, qualifications are extraordinarily important.
It's important for you that you achieved something and that you can prove when you are looking for a job, and your employer would like to check you if you are ready for the job, that they really have the proof that you know what you should know and that you have proper skills to design the program.
Well-described qualifications, that's the basis for education and examination, and therefore the quality of a profession. Yeah, I think it's very important that qualifications are written down in a certain qualification to show the elements that are important for the craftsmanship.
I think they are the most tangible example of the level and content of learning acquired by individuals. They also signal to employers. And other than that, qualifications, they raise employability, ease mobility, and provide access to further education.
We just take the example of personal trainers. How do you know what you're getting? If there's just kind of a jumble of different courses that don't make any sense to you as an end user, you have nothing other than a personal relationship and a feeling to go on the professional level of the person from whom you're buying a service.
In assessing somebody's competencies, their knowledge and their skills, a well-designed qualification is absolutely key. I think qualifications lie at the very heart of our educational systems, well-designed qualifications, that is.
The education systems are very static, are very rigid, because they correspond to holding a nation. It starts with A-levels, because A-level regulates the number of people entering the working market, and then bachelor and master. So education is very static, it's like a fortress. And it creates a huge standard, a huge norm to control the market and to make sure that people stay away.
An additional value of qualification is the confirmation of personal achievements. You can see that you are good at something, so it's some kind of motivation that can push you for further development.
Striving to do better and striving to understand how you can kind of pace yourself towards a higher standard. You constantly have this in your mind. Okay, how do I do this better? How do I actually deliver more quality?
So the challenge for me was that my colleagues gave me only 20 minutes to try to summarise what has been nearly 2 years of very intense debate and discussion. But for us, it presented some really hard thinking to come out at the end of the day with some concrete conclusions as to how we think things will be going forward. What we do know is that the position of international and sectorial initiatives in the area of education and training is widespread. We need to professionalise our sectors to make sure that our workers can deliver very safe and very effective supervision to the millions of people that come and use our services.
So we have to go through a formalised process of qualifications. There is some work-based learning, but mainly people would go either into higher education to some universities, or more typically through vocational education training companies. And it's an easy way of communicating to people what skills you have to help them professionally, and whether you're looking for tradespeople, carpenters, painters, decorators, bakers, all these people. Everyone should be able to train properly, go through a good piece of learning, and get a relevant qualification at the end of it that people can recognise. Well, qualifications in various forms have been around for a very long time.
The origin of qualifications can be traced back to organised education in history, such as Greece, Rome, and China. As civilizations developed, the role of social class received more importance, and people who displayed certain competences were grouped together. The advantage of having participated in and benefited from education became more visible as civilizations developed. The Chinese civilization was the most organized, with a series of levels attached to examinations, which granted the right of access to public office. During the Middle Ages, education had a religious nature, while the late medieval centuries were characterized by a new approach to education. New economic objectives as a result of the Crusades and the development of banking, importing, and shipping gave rise to the development of cities and a new form of education aimed at professional life. Education became available to the middle classes, and the merchant and craft guild system developed. The first institutions of formal higher education were established at this time in the Islamic universities in Cairo and in Timbuktu. By the 11th century, universities were developing in Europe. The establishment of the University of Bologna marked the beginning of the European university tradition. This was also the time when the term qualification acquired a more definite meaning. The 19th century brought with it a wave of liberalism and consciousness of equal rights and opportunities, accompanied by increased specialization and bureaucratization. The increased need for skilled employees eventually resulted in an emphasis on credentials, which persists to the present day. During the 20th century, the emphasis shifted to human capital theory and technological development, eventually leading to concerns whether the education system was able to meet the demands of the labour market. During the late 1980s, the notion of a National Qualification Framework, NQF, emerged in the United Kingdom. The idea developed that all qualifications could be expressed in terms of outcomes, without prescribing learning pathways or programs. The first NQFs were established in Australia, England, Scotland, New Zealand, Ireland, and South Africa.
So there's no denying that actually as a sector we are changing very quickly, and this has presented yet a further challenge to us. We are at such a fast pace now that the whole employment landscape is completely changing.
The fitness sector is extraordinarily clever at adapting itself to meet changing expectations. From the early days for my fitness clubs, I mean, you would look at them now and you think they're positively medieval, frankly, in the way that we went about things, the way the equipment was designed, the way that we treated people, expectations of the outcome. We are light years away from that time now. And of course, technology is playing a vital role.
When I was a physical education teacher in the middle 80s, fitness instructors, it was a free profession. It was possible for everybody to become a fitness instructor. With the introduction of qualifications and demands on education and training, the professional standard was growing.
And it was really in the 1990s that we could see that there really was a separate industry called the fitness industry. It was very exciting times. There was lots of money, lots of people with good ideas, building clubs and putting very nice, sexy looking equipment in there. selling memberships, and people would come and have variously bad experiences because the people brought together to work in those clubs really didn't have the skills or the understanding of how to work with people in their clubs. The USA, I think, probably took the lead in this. Some of the big certification bodies like ACSM got going in the late 1980s, early 1990s. And then other countries picked that up, and very quickly we saw across the globe a number of countries coming forward to set what we would now call as the occupational standards, which would be formed into the fitness qualifications. It's quite recent history.
Employers don't go out to recruit people in the traditional way by putting out situations vacant. They look on social media, they find through Facebook and other media posts that these people have got the skills. They go and find them, they are young people, they get it, they are skilled, they are very mobile, and they work for themselves. These traditional structures of employment are rapidly going, and this is a phenomena across not just the fitness sector, but I think it's especially is the case in the outdoor sector as well.